Welcome to PressHerald.com. I'm Bill Nemitz, and I'm here today with South Portland Mayor Gerard Jalbert, who is presiding over some interesting deliberations. In South Portland, the Clear Skies Ordinance, this one is called, has made it through its first reading before the City Council and has generated a considerable amount of controversy as people debate whether to essentially prevent the shipping of tar sands crude oil through South Portland. Mayor, perhaps you could begin by explaining to us why this ordinance is necessary.
Well, certainly what happened in last November was that we had a citizens referendum to try to prevent this, but it was a very broad referendum. It was actually talking about all petroleum products, which could have really hurt the working waterfront overall. So the City Council took the action that after this was defeated last November, that we had to do this ourselves. We had to put this on our shoulders, and we've done so. We went through a committee process. We've gone through our first reading as is required, and so we're at the point now that we think that we're going to be able to do this to prevent the bulk loading of crude oil onto marine tank vessels, and in essence prevent the flow of Canadian tar sands crude oil through South Portland as an export.
Now, the so-called Draft Ordinance Committee, which put together this ordinance, which in my opinion did a very good job, this ordinance is going to be voted on. In all likelihood, it looks like the City Council is going to approve it in its second reading. The vote was 6-1 this week. Everyone I've spoken with, and I'm sure you as well, fully expects that this is something that will end up in court. What are your thoughts moving forward in terms of defending the legality of this ordinance? Are you confident that it will withstand that kind of scrutiny?
I am. The Draft Ordinance Committee did a great job. We had some very experienced people. In addition, some outside attorneys also had some input in this as well. But I mean, ultimately, if we do have a legal challenge, what I've been told is going to be on two areas. Potentially constitutional, so we'll end up in federal court, or it'll be in state court saying whether or not the local municipality had the authority to do this or not. And I think actually we'll win no matter where we go with that. I'm very concerned about the cost on something like that as well. So what we see happening is that we are already forming a legal defense fund. And we're going to have a website, and we're actually going to solicit donations across the United States from environmental groups.
To help defend this thing. Mm-hmm.
True. I mean, yes, because I mean the taxpayers would foot the bill otherwise, and not all the taxpayers agree with what the City Council's doing. So we need to have another means of funding this, and if we can do this where it's very little property tax dollars and it's more donations, then I think that's more palatable for the people of South Portland.
Win, lose, or draw in court, you as mayor are looking at a divided community right now. There's no question about that. Anybody who watched the meeting the other night would see that. The opponents, of course, are saying that this is in fact something that's being driven by the environmental groups. How, after this is all said and done, do you see this South Portland coming together? Is it something that will take time? What's your plan there in terms of healing the discord?
Well, certainly one of the things that you try to do at every meeting, regardless whether it's a public meeting or you're meeting with a neighborhood group, is you try to encourage mutual respect, respect other people's opinions, regardless whether they're in conflict with yours or not. But another thing is it's about building community pride. So as you saw at the meeting back on Wednesday, there's a fair amount of discussion talking about who we are, what we are, how do we make ourselves a community of distinction? And that's a big part of how you really start the community to come back together.
Well, we'll be watching it all with interest. This is a story that's not going away anytime soon. Mayor, thanks for joining us today, and thanks for joining us at PressHerald.com.